Hi, welcome everybody to another episode of Stuck in the Middle.
Where we ain't young, but we ain't dead yet.
I'm Tracy,
I'm Julie.
and we have a special guest with us today. We're so excited to have a lifelong friend of ours, Samuel Edwards, join us today. And it is our happy hour edition. So, in keeping with the theme of tonight's topic that Samuel's going to talk to us about, it's about aliens. So we decided to make a green alien drink to go with our happy hour edition. And it is July. Let's get that straight. It's not October yet. But with that, Samuel, just tell us anything and everything you want us to know about aliens and foreign objects.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're ready.
Okay, so I wanted to start this by saying that I'm sure there are going to be people who think that I've gone insane after they hear this,
Good.
right?
Okay.
I know it's coming. I already have friends that
Yes.
are like, what are you talking about, right?
You
And
do
I
get it honest
understand
because your
that.
dad is very into this. I know he's
He
spoken at
is.
Rotary.
He
He
is
is.
into it.
He is, and he has a lot of fun with it, and he's come up with some funny stories. But all those stories are based on real events.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
did you say you've seen something before? Have you ever seen anything suspicious or alien-like?
Well, no, when I was a kid and it was Christmas Eve, I thought I saw Santa's Rudolph. But it was actually just the red light on like a water tower or something.
Oh, okay.
That's about as foreign of an object as I've seen that I'm aware of.
Okay. What about you?
No, I haven't.
No. Okay.
Not that I can.
But now I'm
recall.
sure we will.
Yes.
I think so. I mean, I didn't get interested in the topic until I was driving back to college, going north on I-75, just north of Yeehaw Junction.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm driving and I see something off to my left through the window. And I look over and I do a double take and I'm like, what is that? I see something in the sky. First, I think it's a helicopter, like with a searchlight when they're
Sure.
looking for a fugitive.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know? And then I was like, no, that whatever is above it was much bigger than a helicopter. There was a lot of light coming out of a single source on the bottom of it.
Wow.
And it was like stadium lighting, like a whole stadium's worth of light coming out of one section, out of the middle of this thing.
Wow.
Okay,
And
I have a
could
question.
see something above it. Yeah,
I have a question. Were you sober?
I was stone sober. I was driving.
Well, I mean, that doesn't mean anything just because
Okay,
you're
well-
driving. I mean, I'm just saying.
Fair.
Well, that's
Fair.
a good comeback,
Fair.
Sam.
Come on, you know me.
That's
You know
responsible.
me.
Go ahead.
I'm just making sure you're clear thinking. You're
Clear-minded.
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 I
during
was
this.
of sound mind.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm just making sure for our
Okay.
viewers and our
Yeah,
listeners.
no, I was all
Yes.
there.
Okay.
For sure.
All
For
right.
Sure. I see this thing, right? And I see there's a structure above it. It was reminiscent of the craft that they have in the movie Close Encounters of the
Yeah.
Third
Yes,
Kind.
yes.
Kind of that big,
That-
not the cylinder. I don't know. Circular
Yes.
and tall, and it's wider at the bottom
Yeah.
than it is at
Yes.
the top.
Yeah.
But there's
It's almost like a
layers to
beacon
it.
or a beaker, like we used to use in science, like those glass things that are like they start out like that and then they get narrow.
Kind of. This I would say somewhere between a beaker and a wedding cake.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, minus there's no
Tier.
columns, but there's tiers to
Tier.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
So
Okay.
I'm watching this thing, and the more I look at it, the more I'm intrigued. I'm like, what is going on? And I was pretty skeptical up to that point.
Yes.
But I'm driving, and I'm looking, and there's trees. So I see it for 10 seconds, and then it gets distorted by the trees, and then I see it again, and then it gets distorted by the trees. Well, eventually I got to a point where I could see it, and I pulled over, and I stopped, and I stared at it, and I waited.
Wow.
And it moved, and the light slowly went out on the bottom,
Mm.
and then the other lights, the rest of the craft, it slowly went away and just
Okay.
Just disappeared.
right. And this is in an area
Wow.
off of the interstate there. I had been in that area
Uh-huh.
growing up. We used to go and hunt there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
No,
familiar with the
exactly.
area. It's not far from the Avon Park missile range or bomb range,
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
So
know exactly where that is. Do you?
No.
Okay.
that got me into it, and I had heard my dad's stories, but
Mhm.
as a child, I always just kind of wrote them off as my dad had a lot of silly stories that he
Yes,
would tell.
yes.
And he spoke a lot, you know, in front of people, so
Mm-hmm.
I'd heard them all. So I asked him about it. He's like, no, yeah, he had a sighting in Sugarland Park.
He told
One
me
of his
that
best
story.
I haven't heard
Yes,
that.
And
yes.
they saw something.
Yes.
They said it was only a few hundred yards away,
Yep.
at like the treetop level, glowing in the air.
Really?
He said they sat there with their jaws
Yes.
dropped, and they're just like, "What is that? I don't know."
And then he had
What do
something
you
too in his car coming home from seeing your mom.
So, and I'll get to that one. That's the last one. Then he saw one, a bunch of lights
Over
on
the lake.
The lake.
Yep.
Everyone, and there were hundreds of people watching them.
Mm-hmm.
So at least that one we know. He's
I
not
haven't
totally making
heard
it.
any of these, by the way.
Yeah.
He's given this talk at Rotary.
I
before.
know, and I wasn't there. I missed that day.
Well,
so-
we'll have to do a catch-up day and get you, yes.
Yes.
The
Well,
third one, though, the third one, he said he was driving. He was not far from Gatorama, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yes.
And in this story, he gets a little silly with this story. So
Yeah, it's like there's.
I'd be interested to see. I want to ask him in a serious setting, but in this story, he says he gets abducted, right? And for those who don't know my dad, he has a bald, large head. And when he was taken into the craft, he's greeted by the beings, and the story goes, one of the beings, the one who was examining him, said, "Look at his head," and the other one said, "I know, it's perfect."
Good gosh.
Right? That's his story. And then when he gets put back into his car, he's driving, and he's on the other side of the road.
Yes. Yeah. This is what
And
he
He
says.
says this,
Yeah.
right?
like car and all.
Yeah.
It's
On the
on
other side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on I-75 or somewhere.
It was on 27.
Okay. Yeah.
On 27, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
Interesting.
He has fun with that story, so we'll see if he has a more
Interesting.
serious version or not. And maybe it's all true, maybe it's all made up. But the sighting at the lake, there were lots of people present. And there's been a lot of similar sightings over Lake Okeechobee.
Yes.
It's, multiple lights in the sky doing things that look sort of coordinated, and then, vanishing or just
Mhm.
shooting off into space.
Now, let me ask you this question because I saw something on TikTok that Mike shared with me the other night, and it was an entire drone show for the 4th of July.
Right.
And it literally looked like, it was like a flag would be waving in the wind. It was all these drones, and then they'd turn them off. And it'd be like a bunch of like bees,
Oh,
like
yeah,
they just
I've
go
seen
away.
that.
Mhm.
And then they pop back up again, and it's a whole
Right.
nother picture, like a
Right.
fluid picture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, timing for you, how long ago was this? Because nowadays with drones, it very
Right.
well could have been a drone or
Well-
multiple drones.
And I want to be the first to say that most of the things you see, or historically, most of the pictures and videos you see, a huge percentage of them have been debunked.
Yeah.
And drones have, I've seen, people post things online in forums and whatnot, and it's very obviously a party balloon, or it's very obviously a grocery bag that's just gotten caught into a wind current, things like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't make it out. I think if you're looking at it on a phone, it might look more convincing than if you're looking at it on a computer screen.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But the Lake Okeechobee sighting was before cell phones,
Yeah.
and the one that I saw was way too big to have been a drone. It was huge. It was really big.
Like how far away from it were you?
My best guess is maybe a half a mile to a mile. I could see it for quite a while.
I mean, that's pretty close.
It was definitely huge. It was
So what
definitely
happened?
huge.
Did it finally leave?
It just kind of, it kind of went away. It just kind of,
like the light,
like the lights went
faded.
out, but then also the outline kind of dissipated.
Yeah.
It's like it evaporated.
Weird.
That's
Which
crazy.
that's something that has been reported repeatedly. That just sort of disappearing, either just sort of fading away or taking off, doing things that we can't do. So I got interested in it, but it was still sort of a novelty topic at that point.
Yes.
But 2017, there were videos released by some folks that displayed craft doing things that we can't explain. And the videos were from military aircraft. There's the Tic Tac video, which was all over the news. It looks like a giant Tic Tac. And what was significant about those videos was they also had data from other sensors on the plane that corroborated what they were seeing. So they could see the item, they got the craft, they got locked onto it, and they could see its altitude, its speed. And when they did that, it went from 60,000 feet to sea level in less than 2 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And also, the jet has a predetermined destination, right? A multiple throughout its mission, you know, doing patrols,
Yes.
right? So the Tic Tac went to those predetermined points before the jet was there.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And moved around.
And there's no wings, there's no jet engine, there's no rockets, there's no
That's bizarre.
air movement, there's no sound.
That's bizarre.
Right. And it got people,
It put it on the
really
radar
interested.
again, no pun intended.
it got people really interested.
Yeah.
So that got me really thinking, right?
Right.
There's something to this. So I try and be as objective as possible. It's just a topic of interest for me.
Yeah, sure.
But I look into it constantly. I check now. There's so much stuff coming out. I check it daily to see if anything
Really?
worth writing home about has come out.
Yes.
Isn't there a place, and I don't know, is it Arizona or somewhere where they have had a lot of sightings and the military has been watching them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Roswell, the Roswell incident was in 47, or it was in the 40s, and it was in this small town in New Mexico in the desert. It was found by some kids, and the
They call it
military
something.
came.
They call that area something like Area 59.
No, Area 51 is a military base.
Okay.
That's what
Nevada.
I think I'm talking
That's where
about.
that's where we test our secret planes, and like the.
So maybe people
Blackbird.
think those are sightings because it's
Well-
our own military.
It seems like it's been both. Because I'll get to the big picture of what's come out recently, but in a nutshell, there's a lot of people with serious credentials saying that we have this technology and we have craft of our own that do these things. They're not the only ones that we're seeing in the sky, but some of what people are seeing is us, which is
I understand.
mind-blowing to people.
Yeah.
But
Not to me
Why?
Things are
anymore.
adding up.
Why?
Not to me anymore. I mean, with the things our government can do,
Mhm.
or that we have no ideas going on, or you know,
Right.
like even the
Right.
higher levels of government and things like that. Nothing would surprise me really.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
know?
mean,
Right.
what's hard, it's a topic that people don't necessarily want to hear, right? I see
I like
things.
it
It's
though.
you
I
either
like
love it
it.
or hate it.
No, I'm fascinated about all those things because I don't think anything is impossible. It's you opening your mind up to it.
Well, I tell people if we took an iPhone and gave it to a caveman and showed him what we could do with it,
Mm-hmm.
he would think it is magic. Or let's say we took it just 500 years ago. They
Right.
would think
Oh.
it's witchcraft, it's
Yes,
magic,
yes, I agree.
it's not science. And you have to think about this information the same way, because what we don't understand technologically
Mm-hmm.
just looks like magic or fantasy.
Right.
So that makes it a really hard thing to think about, though, because you can't rule anything out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so much BS out there.
Yes.
So I try and focus on just what can we assume. You know, you can't say this is what it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no like normal civilian people can. You can look at patterns, and you can look at things that are in writing from governments around the world,
Mm-hmm.
things that kind of, they're pieces of the puzzle that start to come together.
Mm-hmm.
And now, not too long ago, there was a law passed protecting whistleblowers, because people began to come forward and make some crazy claims. But they were also saying they were scared to come forward because they had signed some NDAs, and that, you know, exposing the truth could ruin their lives. So Congress passed a law protecting them. Now they're trying to pass a law that will force any of these people that have knowledge of these secret government programs, which is what we're going to get into. They have, if the law passes, they'll have 6 months to come forward and spill the beans.
Mm.
After that,
You get in trouble. You're not
they can
allowed.
get in trouble. But they have immunity because they've likely been involved in some stuff that was illegal. So the most recent claim that's been shaking everything up, and pardon me, I'm going to pull out some notes for
Well,
this.
go ahead. I hope they spilled the beans.
It makes you wonder, right?
Right? Don't you? Don't you want
Yeah.
to know?
Well, I guess China had the same thing going when they had
With
that
that-
balloon that came over here.
Right.
Well, and there were 3 of them, remember?
Yeah.
Yes,
One of
there
them was a
were.
balloon, and they showed us pictures. The other 2, they've been very quiet about, and there's a lot of
You're right.
speculation.
That's true.
They said they didn't find, you know, any wreckage, but then there's other statements and evidence that contradicts that. So there's stuff going on. I mean, the presidents, all the former presidents have said there are things in the sky that we don't understand. They've all said that publicly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on the record.
Mm-hmm.
But this topic, you know, people don't want to think about it because it can take you to weird places, because you think
Well, I
about
just
things
think
like,
about-
where did we come from?
Well, like The
Right.
Martian.
It makes
when-
people uncomfortable.
Well, like when we were kids, and what was that show? It wasn't Twilight Zone, but the one where the Martians come and
Yeah,
get you,
what
and
was
they like
it?
examine your head, and like the aliens come and they put
Some
you up on
Martian,
the
it was
thing.
some Martian was in the title.
My
wasn't it?
favorite Martian, or no?
I think that's right.
I
I
don't think
don't
it was favorite.
But
It
I
was
just
something like
remember
that.
it scaring me as a child, like thinking,
Right.
oh my God, that was during the days of like the whole bomb shelter. Like people had bomb
Right.
shelters in their backyard
Right.
because we thought a nuclear bomb was, you know, like
Mhm.
like that was during that time frame. Like those were 2
Right.
of my biggest fears: a bomb coming and an alien coming and getting me and
Well,
putting me in the
and taking you
spaceship
out
and
like
going like
your
that.
dad said, and then come back out.
Yeah,
Like that would be scared.
it would be terrifying.
Terrifying.
I mean, because these things are obviously way more advanced than us,
Absolutely.
right? So there's nothing we can do.
Oh.
But we don't have anything to offer them that they couldn't go and get in. Like,
Obviously.
there's all sorts of theories, like, oh, they're here taking minerals from Earth, or they're getting, you know, there's all sorts of theories, like, what do they want to do with us?
Yes.
I don't think that they want anything to do with us in terms of, like, we have something to offer them. Like, what does an ant have to offer you, right? Because that's, in terms of
Yes.
Yeah.
development, it
yes.
seems like that they're that much further ahead than us.
Yes.
To me, it seems like they're watching us, they're studying us, and it looks like they've contacted certain, like, organizations, or there seems to be some collaboration, which I'll get into.
Okay.
But I want to mention this before people hear this stuff and start having scary thoughts. If they're much more advanced than us, they're likely to be peaceful. Now, you can only make inferences, you know, from our perspective on, like, the laws of nature, the things that always apply. But as things become more intelligent, as we become more intelligent, we're less brutal, we're less violent. Now, people say, I don't believe that, because wars, of course, that still happens, but kids aren't getting beat as much as they used to. People aren't getting in fights, you know, like they used to. You know, dads used to send their sons outside to settle their problems, right?
Yeah.
People used to get stoned in the streets for having the wrong clothes on, right?
Right.
We're not that anymore. We're much more civil
Yes.
than we used to be. There's an island owned by the Indian government called North Sentinel Island, and there's an uncontacted tribe there. Every person who's ever gone to try and make contact with this tribe has been killed. So, and the Indian government says, no one's allowed to go and mess with them. They're living their life, let's let them be.
And where is that?
It's in the Indian Ocean.
Okay.
It's owned by the Indian government.
We're probably not quite sure where that is, but okay.
So,
I guess it's near India.
yeah, somewhere way
Okay.
far
I
away.
thought the Indian people like that were very peaceful people, and Gandhi like an
Well,
Indian.
no, this is like these are tribal people.
Yeah.
Like the people in the
Yeah.
Amazon that have never you know,
Yeah.
been in contact. That's what
Yeah.
these people are. And
Yeah.
I bring that up because
Mm.
it seems like that's kind of what we are to them.
To
They're
them.
not here.
They're here just to gawk at us. Like, what is wrong with these crazy people?
Yeah, maybe
Like-
they got to study us, or and there's a lot of evidence and a lot of people that say they're here to keep us from. They're planning to keep us from destroying ourselves. There's multiple.
This is getting really deep.
I know, we're gonna bring it back to the shower.
Well,
in a
I don't
second,
know,
but-
because I'm like, this green drink and hearing all this, my head's like mush. But go ahead.
Well,
Your
I just
head's
want to
mush
say
from
this.
last night. Let's
This
get it
this is
straight.
my positivity disclaimer, and this is as deep as we'll go, because I'm not scared. I mean, I'm curious and I'm nervous. I'm sure if an alien walked in right now, I'd
Yeah.
poop in my pants.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm sure.
Do you feel like that they
But-
look like what I'm thinking? Like the bigger head, skinny, like what we see in the movies, like
or do
skinny
you think
chin?
that's just cartoonish?
Well, some of these whistleblowers have made some claims that there's a lot of different ones, which would make sense. And
Because we all look different.
the classic
Yeah.
alien picture, though, well,
Yeah.
I mean different like species from different places.
Yeah.
But the classic like alien head
Yeah.
with the big eyes,
Uh-huh.
there's a reason why that's, you know, the way it is.
Why?
Because
Why?
it seems that's the over and over again that description comes out in reports. But back to my point prior to that is that I don't think they have any malicious intent towards us. They have
They're just trying to get information.
they have shut down nuclear missile bases all over the world on multiple occasions. And there are documents that have been released, like official government documents that corroborate that. That's not a maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. there are confirmed reports in the U.S. and Russia of glowing things
Over the missile bases?
coming over the missile bases, and then suddenly, one by one, all of the nuclear missiles are being deactivated. And then they have to go through tons and tons of repair to reactivate them again.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
It is crazy, but it gives me
So-
peace of mind, because obviously,
Cat.
Stormy.
Sorry,
No
she
worries.
wants to be in the video too.
yeah,
Her
that
tail.
bottle was making me nervous.
Okay, Kitty. Sorry, maybe Stormy knows there's an alien back there too, wanting to be a part of our show. Go ahead.
Maybe. But some people see that and they say, oh no, they're doing that so that we can't shoot nukes at them. But it doesn't look like shooting a nuke at them would do. I don't think it would do
Yeah.
anything to them. They seem to have capabilities. You know.
Have you ever heard of any encounters that it hasn't been a peaceful encounter, or truly, like, no one's ever come truly face to face?
There are a lot
Of face to
of
face?
face-to-face encounters, and
Really?
Tell us
now,
about
but
that.
this is where it gets gray, because
Well, I feel like they look gray, but go ahead.
well, so that's actually what they call the classic alien
Yeah.
archetype figure. You know, they call them grays.
Oh.
There's tons of these whistleblower reports
Mm.
that corroborate that.
Okay.
But when it comes to the closer you get in terms of information, the closer it gets to the source, the less reliable it is. And what I mean by that is we can verify government documents that have come out.
Mm-hmm.
We can verify the careers of the people who are making these claims.
Mm-hmm.
And we can use the anecdotal evidence to see patterns. Okay, this person made this claim in 1958.
Mm-hmm.
This person made this claim in 1977. They said the exact same thing, and
Mhm.
there's no way they knew each other or about each other.
Right.
You can put those sorts of pieces together.
Right.
And that's really all we can do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is as these claims are coming out from these really credible people, and I'm going to explain how credible they are in a second.
Mm-hmm.
As these claims are coming out, if you go back through history and look at claims that people were making, a lot of the pieces are lining up. And so let me just go over some of the things that have been confirmed to exist. So Project Blue Book was a U.S. Air Force project to investigate all of these UFO claims. It started in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Project Blue Book, now we know they did investigate UFO reports, but what their main job was to put misinformation out. They came up with the bogus stories about the swamp gas or other phenomena
Bigfoot.
to explain these sightings.
Because they want people to think they're not
They
real.
want to deflect off
They
of
want-
what was real.
Right, and they also
That's
did a
interesting. I
really
never thought
good
about it that
job. They
way.
did a really good job at it
Yeah.
because they were able to create this stigma
Yeah.
and this
Sure.
culture where people who,
If you believe in aliens, you believe in the swamp
Yeah.
man, and
Right.
if
all
you
of
delve
those
into
were
it,
the one
yeah.
that
your
comes out of the
credibility
water.
just goes away. It's, you know, and it's worked.
I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, okay.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally.
It makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, if the government possesses these secrets, think, you know, they would do anything to keep it
Correct.
quiet, because
Sure.
Right.
unlocking this technology is like ensuring,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
national security.
Absolutely.
You know, that's how
Yeah.
they see it. If we can get these craft, then there's not a country in the world that can touch us.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true.
But Project Blue Book, there's a long timeline. It goes all the way back to the 50s. The guy who started Project Blue Book, who was in charge of it when it started,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as he retired from the government,
Mm-hmm.
he became a legitimate UFO investigator. and started an organization for investigating UFOs and preached the UFO gospel until the day that he died. And he was the one who was in charge of that misinformation.
I want to do a little research, Tracy. We need to.
So there's a program called ATIP at the Pentagon. That was the guy who ran that program was part of the group who released the video of the Tic Tac and the other military UFO videos. And they were really strategic about that because they were able to find videos that they could release that weren't gonna divulge any classified information about our jets. So that's how they were able to get it out. But they it looks like they kind of slid it through without anybody noticing because they were unlikely to, let that information out. But the guy, his name was Lou Elizondo, and he was in charge of this program. It's called ATIP for short, Advanced Aeronautical Threat Information something. And this program was secret, and its existence was released.
Okay.
Its existence was disclosed. That program ended in 2012.
Wow.
Those videos came out in 2017.
Wow.
So now the U.S. Office, in 2021, the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence concluded that UAPs represent a potential national security challenge, but didn't provide an explanation for the majority of the incidents investigated between 2004 and 2021. So we know we can confirm that there's something going on, right? That's enough for me to say there's something going on, right? So I want to talk about the most recent disclosure or whistleblower. It was a guy named David Grush. I should have printed these out. I apologize while I find his
You're
credentials.
good.
No, you're good.
Grush was a decorated combat officer within the U.S. Air Force during the war in Afghanistan and is a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. From 2019 to 2021, sorry, I clicked a link on accident. He was representative of the National Reconnaissance Office to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. From late 2021 to July 2022, he was the co-lead for the UAP, which is Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, because they don't say UFO anymore.
Unidentified flying object.
Or actually it's Unidentified Anomalous Phenomenon, I'm sorry, because they go underwater too.
Oh.
So
There's so much I didn't know.
I'd just like to hitch a ride. I mean, I want to be
Do
Judy
you?
Jetson. I would love to be Judy Jetson and just be able to fly around.
Okay.
I mean, that's my dream come true.
To
Just
be
give me a
Judy
little hover.
Jetson.
it might be here sooner than
I
we
know. I really, that's my dream to be
I like
Me,
how
George
they used
Jetson.
to live in all the little pods.
me
out
too,
there.
and they would just jot around. But
Yeah.
so
But think
very
about
interesting.
how long ago that cartoon was out.
Yeah.
But that it all ties in to what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
That's crazy. So go ahead.
oh yeah, sorry, I'll
Okay.
finish this and then I have a comment about the way it's been portrayed in media.
Okay.
So
Judy
from
Jetson.
2019 to 2021, he was the representative of the National Reconnaissance Office for the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. And then he was the co-lead for the UAP analysis at the NGA and its representative to the task force. NGA being the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. So many acronyms. And he assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023, which includes provisions for reporting UFOs, including whistleblower protections and exemptions to non-disclosure orders and agreements. So he had the very highest levels of security clearance. one of the things that he did was he delivered the presidential intelligence report on a daily basis. Like he was one of the
Right
people
there.
in that circle that
Yeah.
knew all the secrets.
Oh, wow.
And he has since come out and said that there's this government organization operating
Mm-hmm.
without oversight,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a collaboration between contractors like Lockheed Martin
Mm-hmm.
and Raytheon and
Yep.
those big guys,
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
Department of Defense.
Mhm.
And they have had contact and been in collaboration with, now instead of aliens we say non-human intelligence,
I believe it.
because this is where it gets into you can't rule anything out. It seems like magic, because they might not necessarily be from another planet in our solar system. This is where it gets hippy dippy. They could be traveling through time. They could be traveling through universes or
Mhm.
dimensions,
Mhm.
things that we just can't really comprehend.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
for anybody who's taken physics in college,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which I took the easiest physics class, and I
Forget it.
made it through with the skin of my teeth.
Okay,
But
well.
there's things in physics
Yeah.
that we can't
Explain.
explain or understand, but we can prove it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Like Einstein's theory, before he proved it, was just a guess, right? So there's things that we can prove in physics, but we don't understand yet,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem to line up with these phenomena,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's where it gets weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, you don't really need to go down that rabbit hole, because people tend to put a negative light
Mm-hmm.
on things we don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to confront things that we don't understand. And when we don't understand things, we want to deflect, we don't want to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
or we
most
want to
people
paint a
don't.
negative light on
Right.
it. So I urge people not to go down a weird rabbit hole with that, unless you think it's cool. In that case, dive
Right.
in. It's interesting, but
Right.
you can't. It seems like they've known at some point they were gonna have to spill the beans, and there's a lot of people that believe the way that aliens have been portrayed
Mm-hmm.
in movies, there's sort of a long-term plan, a concerted effort to prepare us for
So, okay, so since the Jetsons, they've been preparing us.
maybe. I don't have any hard evidence to prove that, but I think about it like this. Okay, so they know they can't keep it a secret forever, but they know that when it comes out, it's gonna shake things up,
I
right?
want it to come out.
I do too.
Right.
The thing
I
I
want it to
don't
come out.
understand though,
Because I'm curious. I'm a very
Listen.
curious person by nature.
Yeah.
So I want it to come
But-
out.
well, my thing is that I have no doubt in my mind, especially after watching that show Scandal on TV with Kerry Washington in it.
Yeah.
There's a whole nother branch of government. I know it's a show, but it makes you realize just how deep things can get and how
I
even
haven't
one
watched
branch
it.
of the government doesn't it's
Like
a
you
show.
don't know about.
Well,
that's
this is
the-
even higher up than like the main CIA, FBI. Like these
Yeah,
people
I
are
can
getting all over the FBI and CIA. They're the cleanup crew. Basically, they're the underbelly of the CIA and FBI are the good guys. These are the guys above them that are the bad guys. Okay,
Right.
let's just say, right? In a way. So,
I think they have good reason for keeping it secret. I think,
And I get
I
that.
think they have really good reason, but when you don't
Why?
have
What do
any
you think their
oversight,
reason is?
well, because
yeah, that's my next question is hide, like how you said, let's just pretend, because this is what it is to me at this point. I can't wrap my brain around all this. I can't even wrap my brain around what goes on in my house
Right.
that I see every day with my own 2 eyes. So,
Right.
but point is that, like, if this hovercraft thing or whatever it is, spaceship, like, blurs out and goes away, and how we have statistics that show altitude and all that. It's 2 different things to me, because if you can measure altitude, you have to have an object to measure it with, or
Right.
to measure.
Right.
But yet it disappears. So how are we not flying into these things that our own government has the secret arm of? How are those jets not flying into it?
If they're there.
I'm
Or
confused.
they're watching us and getting
No,
on the
well,
way.
all of these craft are way faster and
Right.
than anything that we have.
I just can't.
Like they if they hit us, they wanted to hit us. If they're in the way,
Right.
they wanted to be.
Right.
They have the ability to outrun anything that we have by a lot.
And
Like,
therefore, if they wanted to, they would have already done it,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
They're just more curious.
I think they've always been here.
But my
Seems
point
to
is,
be.
is so if it is a governmental program of some
Mhm.
kind, let's just say,
Uh-huh.
what is the end game for the government? Like, in other words, all this data that they're collecting with these foreign object things,
Was their end game.
why have we not used it to our advantage worldwide, if that's what I would think the end game
Unless
is?
we
I-
don't have
I-
the intelligence to reach that.
Right?
I think we probably have, but we just don't know about it. I
Oh.
think we probably have to a degree. But
But
think
like, why
about-
wouldn't we be using it, I'm making this up, right now to help out Ukraine, since we're trying to help them out
Right.
in war, let's say?
Well, this is the part that pisses everybody off, right? Part of these disclosures and these claims
Mm-hmm.
kind of point to the idea that we've had this technology and had access to it,
Then we're not
and
using
it
it.
could solve
A lot.
all of our energy problems,
Mhm.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Well, let's just use that as the
As an
only
Yeah.
example, right?
Right.
But what happens tomorrow if someone suddenly came up with an invention that made
Yes.
oil
Solved it.
obsolete?
Mm-hmm.
The richest and most powerful people in
Yes.
the world
Mm-hmm.
are suddenly screwed,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I get that.
that's
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, even like
It's
when
like
we
the whole pharmaceutical
well,
thing, right?
the pharmaceutical, or even like going to war, how sometimes you need to bolster the economy, and you need to go and get the factories going to make the
Right.
weaponry, da 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 da. It's really not because we want to be at war, we want to stimulate the economy, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yes.
Correct?
and this there's a lot of conspiracy theories that have existed for a long time
Mm-hmm.
that this sort of gives credence to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big like conspiracy theory person
Mm-hmm.
in general, but I do find it interesting,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because I think most of them are complete BS,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of them have turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can't rule it out, and that's what's fun and also frustrating about this topic in general. You can't rule anything out
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
at this point.
Nothing actually, unfortunately, surprises me
Me either.
anymore with what's real and what isn't. And just like we're both in healthcare, and I'm sorry,
Mhm.
like, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but like you say, with different medicines, sometimes I think they don't want
Yeah,
to
of course.
bring it to market because they know it's going to put the
It's
other
gonna cut
people
in
out of
somebody's
business.
pockets.
Yeah,
Yes,
if I
totally.
created a new insulin tomorrow that costs nothing to make and let the patent free,
Mhm.
Exactly.
I'd get, I would get
Yes.
I would get taken somewhere.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's too much money at
Mhm.
stake.
Mhm.
To the train
So-
station.
Yeah,
Yeah, to the train
To the
station.
train
yeah,
station.
and
Yeah.
that's
true.
something we know happens. So
Yeah,
like,
no, totally
if
agree.
all this does come out, I feel good that maybe it will open people's eyes to a
Mhm.
lot of that,
Right.
because it's a real problem. Everything that's going on in the world, all the fighting, the
Yes.
polarization of society
Mhm.
is a huge problem. And this all coming out, I think people will see, hey, we need to look at what's really important. Like,
Right.
we're
Yes.
getting, there's smoke and mirrors. We're all here concerned
Yes.
with this, you know, like a matador. We're all looking at the red cape,
Yeah.
and that's what we're mad at. But really,
It's
the
over
issues
here.
are over here.
Yeah.
Things are
Right.
moving and shaking while we're looking at,
Thank you.
you know, crazy stuff going
Totally
on in
agree.
society.
Well, I
So
mean, even
I-
COVID to a certain degree, but I don't even want to get off on
Oh,
all
yeah,
that.
I have a question. Going back to what you said in the beginning about that whomever has 6 months, or they're gonna, so are we at that 6
So
month?
that law
Like,
hasn't passed yet.
okay.
That law hasn't
Okay.
passed yet. It made it through one chamber, either the House or the Senate. I can't remember. It's made it through one, and now it needs to make it through the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a part of. I think there's also parts of the. I'm going to show my ignorance now. There's a defense bill or something
Oh,
that's
yeah.
about to come. There's a big defense bill that's about to be passed.
Yeah.
There's
And you
UAP
think
stuff
it's
in
in
there.
there?
There's some
Okay.
stuff in there as well.
We're gonna have to
I can't
follow
remember.
along, or better yet, Samuel, you follow along so you can
I can update.
give us an update.
Yeah, because I don't, yeah.
I want to play you guys a clip.
Oh.
Oh,
Just the
okay.
audio. Well, I can show you, but I'm going to play
Make sure you
the
put it-
sound. This is
Yeah.
Marco Rubio.
Oh, okay.
So there's not been a lot of news coverage of this, and it seems to be for that reason we discussed, that a lot of people don't want to hear about it
I agree.
because
It's so foreign.
yeah,
No pun
it's-
intended.
people just don't want to dive into it. And also the major news outlets, the New York Times, Washington Post, they've made they've made reports on previous things that have happened. The Tic Tac, the first major articles in the New York Times, but the David Grush disclosure about the secret
Yeah.
government organization, they've just tapped into it, but it's not, you know, if this is true, this is the biggest discovery of all time.
Yeah.
Of
But
course.
they say that they're waiting until they have more. They don't want to send people into a panic or into a state without having more
Mass
information.
hysteria,
Because
Right.
it could lead to that.
Right.
right?
I think we need a little shake up.
Yeah, me too.
So
Okay, let's hear it.
Marco Rubio is one of the people who is behind.
Spearheading, trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yes, he's one of the people on the intelligence committee that is
Trying to get to the bottom of
championing
it.
this. Yeah. So
Will say there are people that have come forward to share information with our committee over the last couple of years. I would imagine some of them are potentially some of the same people that perhaps he's referring to. I want to be very protective of these people. A lot of these people came to us even before these protections were in the law for whistleblowers to come forward.
Sorry, people who have had firsthand knowledge, who claim to have firsthand knowledge of seeing this type of thing.
Or have firsthand knowledge or firsthand claims of certain things. Some are public figures, you know, and you've heard from them in the past. Others, you know, have not shared publicly. And so we're trying to gather as much of that information as we can. And the reason why I'm being cautious, I'm not trying to be evasive, but I am trying to be protective of these people. Some of these people still work in the government. And frankly, a lot of them are very fearful of their jobs, fearful of their clearances, fearful of their career. And some, frankly, are fearful of harm coming to them.
So that category of people who have firsthand knowledge.
So, yeah, it seems like the news organizations, there's the more that people learn, the people who really study it, it seems that you see all of them arrive at a point where they say something along the lines of, there's a good reason why it hasn't been disclosed yet. Or things like, there are a lot of aspects to this that shouldn't be made public. They say things like that because there are security implications, and there are implications in regards to society's foundational,
Right.
you know,
Right.
everything. You know, we the way we do everything and live in the world, we made it up. It's all.
Well, like I was saying, whenever we were taking a break, I said to Samuel, I truly never thought about Bigfoot and the Swamp Man as being a diversion. I just thought it was something kooky or whatever. Like my brain didn't go there, but that makes total sense to me, and I've never thought of it in that way.
There
Have you?
are a lot of
I feel like I have thought that before.
there
Yeah.
there are a lot
All on my
of
own.
things historically, things, you know, creatures and things. There are characteristics in these old stories that line up with some of this alien stuff, right? And
My
yeah,
favorite Martian. That is right. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
okay,
you're
But I
good.
do it. That's where I'm at.
Okay, good, good,
So-
good, good.
it but like we said, there was definitely a concerted effort. Project Blue Book was a concerted effort to discredit people and to make up these fake stories. But it's perfect in that anybody with any credibility who said anything, it just, that stigma took over, and all of their credibility was gone. But there are, I would say 80% of the stuff that you would hear or see was from crazy people.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, when people
Totally.
realized, oh, this is a topic, a media topic that we can exploit for money,
Yeah.
you know, and
Let me ask you a question. What do you think, because you studied this, like you do research on it
Yeah.
because it interests you.
yeah, I think
What
it's super
is the
interesting.
closest story, I don't know, what story has touched you the most, being the closest to a spaceship or an alien, or having a true face-to-face encounter with it being, i.e. the government or not the government? What is the closest encounter that you've read about?
So the best story, there are tons of stories of people saying they were abducted, or maybe
Yeah.
they had contact, or, you know, a figure showed up in their room, and those you can't verify. All you can do is you can look at anecdotal evidence, look at what things corroborate, which patterns are starting to appear, and you can make guesses. But there are a few stories where there were lots of witnesses. There was one in Africa, in Zimbabwe. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. A bunch of school children. A craft came down. There were like 66 kids, I think.
How old were they, two?
They were various ages, but they were elementary.
I'm just asking.
Smart Ellie.
They were elementary age, and there were a lot of them, and the teachers saw something, but the kids were outside.
You think they were smoking the ganja?
No, they're too little to smoke
Zimbabwe.
the ganja. No,
I don't know.
God, they don't
Well,
have
maybe
ganja
the
in
teachers
Zimbabwe.
were, but
I don't
I'm
think it was
kidding,
Zimbabwe.
Samuel.
No, now I can't remember which country it is.
it's okay. We're not
I
gonna
know.
fact check.
Okay, so anyway, so
Like you did
but there were a
last
bunch of kids that saw it, and a few teachers.
A bunch of kids and some adults, but the kids interacted. Like the
Yeah.
little men got off of the.
They're little.
They are, well, there's some that are little, and there's some that are 9 feet tall. There's some that look a lot like humans. There's some that look exactly like humans.
Really?
The only common
I
thread
know that.
is that they're all bipedal. They walk upright on 2 legs,
Like us?
like us.
Okay. Well,
Would we know it if they looked just like us? That they were like how zombies like stick out or whatever?
Well,
would we know it? Would you know that?
I feel like an alien right now myself. Feel foreign.
Don't you know some
Because you had too
people?
much to drink last night.
Don't you know some people that if they were aliens, it would explain a lot?
Actually, it's yeah.
Yeah, this
yeah.
one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm thinking maybe I am of that world.
A lot of people think that they are like Among Us. They're walking around.
Ah, that's interesting. I'm going to be looking at people differently.
I can act alien-like at times, for sure. Great.
Yeah, everybody might have a little alien in us. One of the theories is that, they talk about the missing link. When you look at
Yeah.
human history, you had Homo sapiens, other Homo erectus, whatever.
I don't know any of
I
it.
got a C in anthropology.
I don't know
but-
any of it.
I don't know. Did we take
Neanderthals. There were other species that were similar to us, but
that?
not quite.
Right, yes.
And then there was, if you look using the archaeological record, there was this moment in history where our brain, over a short period of time, grew a ton. And that's the missing link. They don't know what caused that to happen. Why did Homo sapien become the dominant primate? Because we all have Neanderthal DNA. We have DNA from these other human-like, creatures. But
Yeah.
a lot of people think that they were the missing link. They came and gave us that boost that made us the dominant species here. Now that, no one knows. That's just a guess.
Who knows?
That's just a guess.
Let's hear what you have to say about that.
No, I mean, no, I definitely believe that we all have a little bunch of little everything in us. Like, I think I could almost look like an alien, actually. My face, I have like a thicker head here and a skinny chin.
Oh
I've
my
always felt
God.
like that, in a way. I could
Samuel,
look like an
here we go.
alien.
This,
I think you look beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I could be like an alien,
Yeah.
though. I'm just saying, like,
I'm not into aliens.
well, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I might have a little bit in me.
okay.
Maybe. We can't rule anything out, right?
Well,
Right.
here's my next
Right.
question. Like with the government people, like the head of defense, secret defense. My only issue with that whole thing, because I believe in stuff like that after watching that show Scandal. Y'all think I'm crazy?
I'm gonna have
But
to
I'm not.
watch
It's
it.
a great show, by the way.
I'm
It's
gonna-
done and over with for years now. But yeah, you
Okay,
need to
well,
watch it.
I've gotta go back.
I love it, by the way. But anyway, okay, I lose my train of thought so easy.
Scandal.
Oh, about the government programs, I do believe in that, but my question would be, over the years, I almost feel like that somebody would truly, because like, what's that word? There's no loyalty amongst thieves. Is that the right word?
No
To
honor
say
amongst thieves.
There's no honor amongst thieves. So my point is, especially in today's polarized world that we live in, there seems to be no honor among thieves. God forbid you're from a
Or
different political
somebody-
party.
Or
They're
somebody
gonna
could
blow-
be bought out.
blow your
to
cover.
tell.
They
Like blow
can't-
your
yeah.
cover.
This is all about greed
Yeah.
and money,
Like now,
right?
I just that's my only thing with that is I feel like that somebody would blow the whistle in a very high position
Well,
to rat on the other side or
Well,
something.
or like
So
Samuel
there-
said, they'll
there have-
disappear.
the thing is that what I said about, given these recent disclosures and if you look at what we can assume, we know that something's going on. And when you look back, there have been people who have been saying these things for a long time, but that stigma was there. And these people were immediately discredited. I have an example. Well, there's a bunch of examples, but I have one in particular that I learned about recently. It was actually somebody from Canada, because they say that there's collaboration between us and our allies on this.
Like
project.
NATO, maybe?
Not NATO, but there's a thing called the Five Eyes, which is it's a publicly known thing, and it's like the agreement between all the English speaking countries, the US, Canada, Australia, the UK, and New Zealand, collaborating on intelligence
Interesting. Didn't know that either.
between each other. And they say that
The Five Eyes.
the Five Eyes. I hope that, I think it's New Zealand. But there was a Canadian defense minister, Paul Hellyer. I think he was former Canadian Minister of National Defense. Hellyer has stated that UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead, and claimed that the US government and others have been covering up evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. He has also suggested that various species of extraterrestrials have visited Earth and have been involved in earthly affairs for millennia. He's spoken on it at length, and he was the Minister of National Defense. That was in 2005, and like the Project Blue Book guy, he was first a part of the cover-up and then came out.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
it would make sense if he was a part of, if it was the other way around.
No, I agree with you on that.
It'd be easier to go and say, oh, all that stuff, I was making it up. But to go from really making everything up to then saying, no, this is real, and actively investigating it,
Yes.
that's telling to me. I think that there is funny business, just human nature. When you don't have people enforcing rules, you're gonna do things that you can get away with.
Right.
Whether you are the best person in the world or not, that change happens slowly.
Yeah, you can push the envelope.
Absolute power corrupts
Yes.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And this organization doesn't have oversight from Congress.
Well,
And-
it's kind of like, again, I have to put it into today's world for me to understand it. Everything has to make sense in my brain, so I have to put it in terms I can. So in my brain, when you just said that, it's kind of like right now with what's going on, and again, I'm not a historical person, but with the war with the whole Russia-Ukraine, how Russia hired that group of vigilantes, if you want to call them that.
Yeah,
What is it called?
Wagner Group.
Okay.
Yes.
To go and fight for them, but then all of a sudden the bidding got better on the other side, so then they turned against them. Again, no honor amongst thieves. Like everybody's going to be out for themselves. It's kind of like that saying of be careful what you create or whatever, because sometimes your pet project can turn into being your biggest nightmare in
Yeah.
a way. And
Yeah.
so it could be exactly that. But I'm just curious, again, I go back to that same question, what is the end game with it? Other than just trying to one up the rest of the world with intelligence, but
So the end game is where it starts to get really weird. And that's what we can only guess about. There are reports or just, whistleblowers who have made all sorts of claims, and people who have spoken, claim to have had contact and been given all of this information all over the world. And some of those people are schizophrenic, and some of those people maybe have the right answer, but we can't tell what is what. We can't decipher what is possible and what's not, because it's technology that we don't understand. So, it's all we can do is speculate.
yeah,
And I think about it, we can just compare them to humans. It's as far as we can go at this point, but just use logic. Assume that they're not motivated by greed, or assume that they are, but we don't have anything to offer them in that regard, right? Why are they here? There are theories, though. That's where it gets really mystical and odd.
like what is it, like our reproduction and
No, that one really popular one is that it starts to get into like religious type topics, and to me, if this is the case, there are things that kind of line up, right? One of the theories that's really popular, I'm not saying I believe this or I don't. When it comes to the stuff that we can't confirm,
Right.
but that us in this life, like confirming we do have a soul, right? This life that we're living here now is a step on our journey.
Right. I see.
After
I know
we
where
die
you're going.
here,
Yeah.
it's the next, the
Tier.
next dimension, the next tier.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily saying it's like reincarnation, but there are people who believe that it ties into reincarnation. But there's a lot of theories having to do with our souls, our spirits.
I don't want
Yeah.
to even venture there,
Yeah.
because that
No,
makes
no.
me nervous. I just need to know what I know in my brain,
Okay,
and that's all I can say.
I have a question. So, say this doesn't get passed, right? Say it never gets passed, because there's a good chance it's not going to, right?
I think the momentum is already moving too quickly. There's going to be that guy David Grush.
Yeah.
Right.
He is going to be speaking in an open session
Before
Please
before
let us
Congress
know if
by the
it's
end
gonna
of this
be-
month.
By the end of this month.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, the ball
Okay.
is rolling.
So if it doesn't, let's just say it doesn't, play devil's advocate here. If it doesn't
Martian's
get passed,
advocate.
do Martian advocate.
So devil's advocate. We're playing Martian's advocate right now.
Yeah,
Boom, boom.
okay.
Go ahead.
Good. Well, now you made me lose my
Oh,
train of thought
gosh.
again.
If it
But
doesn't happen.
if it doesn't happen, are we really ever gonna know in our lifetime? Because a
Can't say for
lifetime's in a
sure.
blink of an eye, right?
You can't say for sure. And all we can do is guess. You have to keep in mind that it includes concepts that at this point to us are going to seem like magic.
Right.
They're gonna seem alien,
They're going to seem, yeah.
like an alien thought.
But one thing I want to say when you mentioned you don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. No. No.
Understand, like it is
Scares her.
scary to go down.
It scares her. It
But-
scares me too, a little bit, but
I've been down that road. It gets weird. I've thought about it, looked at all the different theories. It gets very weird.
My brain just doesn't have the capacity to deal with all that.
It's hard to wrap your head around, and it takes time, and I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
But just the concepts and being open to them,
no, you don't.
and it doesn't necessarily contradict the beliefs that people are scared of losing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of lines up, right? If you're a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
it lines up with the light went out. If you're a
Oh.
Christian, it lines up with there being life after death on this
Right.
on this earth, right? And
Eternal.
you can make
Eternal.
corroborations with all of the major religions. There's certain common threads that all religions have, and they're all the good parts of it.
Yeah.
The
Life everlasting.
loving, the golden
Yes.
rule, and,
Do unto
and the
others.
good things that no one can deny are good. You can make connections. I don't want to go deep down that
No,
rabbit hole. That's
we're
something
not
you can talk
going
about.
to.
for
No, I
hours.
know. I don't either. It's the way
It's
too over
just-
my head.
It's just people have to be aware that if you do, you're not going to be able to avoid it at some point if this all
What?
moves
Aliens?
forward. No, just
No, the
confronting
thought,
these
the
things.
the whole theory.
See,
of
but
it
this
all.
is my problem in life. I don't ever want to deal with anything heavy. I run from it. I just choose to turn my back and go the
But
other
You
way.
like to put your head in the sand.
It's just too hard for my brain to even have to
Right.
figure this stuff out.
It's exhausting.
right.
I'm doing good to figure out what I'm
It's
cooking
exhausting.
for dinner.
And that's okay. If
I can't.
if it gets
By
weird,
the way,
think
she
of
didn't
this.
cook dinner
Just
tonight.
remember this. If this all comes to light, evidence tells us everything, the clues that line up tell us that they've been here before we were here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I definitely
nothing
think we're
has
not the
to
only
change.
ones in this
We're-
whole
Were
universe.
Your
Were
existence-
you scared when you saw that hovercraft thing out
No,
there by
You were
yourself?
more
I was like,
interested?
You were
holy
mesmerized.
cow! What
You
is
weren't
that
scared to
thing?
death.
Were you
No,
scared
I
to
was.
pull
I
over?
I would have been
no, I
scared.
wasn't scared. I mean,
You're more curious.
you know the feeling you have when you're walking to the principal's office?
Oh.
Like it's a physical sensation that like
Yeah, like wetting your pants.
Like
Yeah,
I
it's a
had-
We
gorilla?
know, like when you wet your pants walking there. Yeah, we know all about it. You probably peed your pants, didn't you?
thankfully I kept all my fluids inside of me.
Because when I get nervous like that, I'm talking about shoosh.
But it was there was some like it was like a feeling of awe and like
I'm
some
gonna wet my
nervousness.
pants,
It was
please.
nervousness, but not fear.
Okay.
It wasn't fear, but
Kind of like an exhilarating.
I
nervousness.
think
Yeah.
that if they
Yeah.
were to come
Yeah.
like the
and
first
get
time you like a
it would
first
be
kiss with somebody.
Yeah.
It
like
would be so
butterflies.
quick
Yeah.
that you don't have time for the reaction. Right?
You're not in. When I saw it, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But I did know, with every fiber of my being, that
Yes.
something is not normal
Here.
right there.
Yeah.
That's what I knew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, did you call your dad immediately and like, Dad, the same thing just happened
You
to
know,
me?
no, I
Who
didn't.
was your first phone call? Tell us.
Probably your brothers, one of your brothers, I'm
Or
sure.
your mother?
I think I called a friend from college. I think I was talking to a friend from college. I know. At that point, like my dad and I, we talk about this stuff. We bond over it. At that point, though, that wasn't there. It was after this that his UFO stories became something that I was like, wait a minute, tell me more.
Wait,
Before
is he
that-
copying you?
No, his came first. I had heard those
Are we gonna
stories.
call him out?
Well, I just needed to know if I needed to.
Chipper?
Chipper.
Chipper?
I think that seeing this just kind of put me down the road. And then I realized, whoa, my dad's into
Like-
this too.
Yeah, like you
He
probably
may have
thought your
been-
whole life, my dad's full of crap. He's feeding me all these UFO stories, and I didn't
Well-
believe him. And now it's like, holy crap, I do believe.
Well, the one thing that he does well is when he tells the stories,
You know,
he doesn't care whether people believe him or not.
no,
Right.
He's telling them and he's entertaining people when he's telling them, and he doesn't care.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he reminds me of my dad. My dad used to tell the best stories, and he could infuse a joke into the middle of a conversation. You didn't know you were in the middle of a joke.
Yeah.
He's the same way, like to where you really and truly are like, okay, is this a joke or is this a real story? And then of course he says, no, it's a real story. And you're
Right.
like, but do I really believe you in this? Like you never know. But
Yeah.
he really means it, I believe, as far as I know.
I think there's probably some embellishments. If he got abducted, I think the first thing we could probably rule out is that they said that his head was
It was perfect. Uh-huh. Yeah.
But he does have a magnificent head. There's no lumps or bumps on it. It's very
Really?
smooth.
Very smooth. I'm gonna have to look at him.
He
next
would be
time.
an alien's dream of a person to get. And me too, with my facial shape. I would like to be invited
Tracy,
on board.
I'm
I'd
just-
like to go brrrr and walk up the
Yes,
into
Judy.
the lights. No,
Judy
but I'm just
Jackson.
scared because everything's metal and cold, and I picture them to put you on like a gurney the minute you get there, or like an operating table, and they take your brain out. That's what I've always heard. They don't want my brain, so we're good.
What do you mean? That's what you've always heard?
Well, in movies or something, I don't know. That's what I picture.
And
On
the-
a gurney, taking your brain out.
Don't you?
I think that there just would be
They look
pride
at you like,
prodding and looking at you.
yeah,
right?
like a physical.
Yeah.
Like a physical. There are
Like-
stories where
yeah,
there are people have stories where they go through, some sort of examination, and it's
Mhm.
like
On a
everybody
metal
had
gurney.
a dentist or a doctor who was a little rough and quick with the movements.
Hello.
Yes.
People say,
My father-in-law.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Dr. Collins had some brutal shots.
Uh-huh. He was a good
really good, though.
dentist,
He
but
did
Well,
good.
any kind of dentist. I mean,
it's
But
I'm
just
sorry.
invasive.
Those shots, though.
Well, those needles still,
Yes.
can they not come up with something
No,
more
they don't do it.
user-friendly?
They don't. Now they're like you
Little
don't even
teeny,
feel
you
it.
don't
You don't
even
even
feel
feel
it.
it.
Honey, I go to the dentist every 6 months. I still feel that when they have to give me Novocaine.
Well, you know what? It makes my heart race now. I really hate going, but that's a whole nother topic.
Wait, hang on. What were we talking about?
Yeah,
Oh, so
see?
people
That's what
get
happens to us.
abducted. I have ADD. It's
Oh, I
real.
do too.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
No,
Bird,
that makes,
squirrel.
That makes us us. It's good.
yeah. Fuck.
People have reports like that where they're like it was sort of a rough. People have said stories that it was like traumatizing, which even if it was gentle, I think it would be traumatizing.
Well,
for a
my
lot of people.
God.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of
Them
reports.
looking at you would be traumatizing, even if they didn't touch you.
Well, yeah.
Right?
There's
Like-
a lot of reports though that whenever they walk in or whenever they come to, they have this like feeling of calm, like they're being influenced somehow, like a drug or something that's making them
Chill.
calm and
I need
amicable
that
during
too.
The
the process.
person that's being examined.
They're being
you're
taken
saying.
care
Oh, I need that.
There's also
Maybe they
there's-
give you
On a
propofol.
well, there's
Maybe
reports.
they give you propofol.
There's
How do
reports
you
of
say
people
it?
getting healed. There's
Propofol.
reports of people who get abducted
And then you
and
get
they
healed.
come when they get put back.
They're healed.
Suddenly, injuries that they had, things that were wrong, are fixed.
Wow,
That would be cool.
that would be
Well,
really
then
cool.
again, you're venturing into my religion now. Because that's what Jesus does, by golly. He makes you better. So then I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that.
What if this is?
Julie gets so disgusted with
I don't get disgusted with her, y'all know. I just look at her in pure amazement.
What?
I can't even look at your face right now because all you're talking about is you have an alien head. So
I do.
No, you don't.
What if you got abducted and when you came
Oh, boy.
out, you had perfect Botox, perfect
Tracy,
everything?
and you never felt
And I
it.
lived a life of propofol.
Samuel,
I've been happy.
this is what I'm talking
I would
about.
be so
Propofol is
happy.
what took Michael Jackson.
I
Exactly.
know, it's the best drug there ever was. Have you had a colonoscopy done?
Oh, for God's
No.
sakes.
That's the best 30 minutes of sleep I've ever had in my whole life.
I had
It
an
is-
endoscopy. Maybe they gave me that.
I'm just gonna tell you, when they say Twilight,
Oh,
you
it's like
Twilight
a-
that baby.
Twilight.
I think of it like a time machine.
Ew.
You don't dream. You just wait.
Ooh,
You just you
so
go to sleep and
refreshed.
your eyes
If I was
closed.
Michael Jackson, I'd have a doctor on staff 24/7.
Well, he did.
I know.
Until.
It didn't work out so well, but
No.
I
Okay,
agree.
so think on it.
Okay, well, I don't have the money to have my own physician giving me propofol every night.
I can't
If you
even
get
remember.
abducted and they give you propofol, I bet it'll be safe.
And I'll be calm.
See?
Calm.
Yeah, or like Xanax with no side effects.
Calm.
Oh, man.
Calm.
Yeah.
You got me wanting to ride the alien, not train. It's not a train, the alien spaceship.
Starship.
Let's just go.
Like Starship Enterprise.
Look, and then you.
Tracy, see, you did your.
I can't do.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Just, I can't.
All right, so
Well, see,
have there been any more sightings around Clewiston that we know of? Now everything's going to be a drone to me, though. See, those drones freak me
But the
out. I'm
drones-
sorry, that scares the
I
heck
don't
out
There
of
like
me.
was a
I don't
drone.
like
There was a
drones.
drone the other night, right
They-
out here,
yeah,
They
looking
do
at
them.
lightning.
They do it all the time.
But
They
the
hover
drones-
over.
The drones, you can
Scares
tell
me.
it's a drone pretty
Scares the
easily.
heck out of me.
The things,
Who's doing those?
I think it's a lot of like the last one I saw, someone was videoing lightning. There was a crazy storm.
It just
over
scares
the
me
lake.
though. I don't
don't
like
like
that
them
thing
either.
hovering outside over me and it comes down. And it comes down like it, like honestly,
Yeah.
those could be,
Well, they're.
that is probably alien stuff.
I don't. Well, I don't know about that, but
I
don't
think it's
like
more
them.
likely to be like teenagers.
Well, I don't like it. So
Well,
whoever
no,
you
fair,
are,
fair.
throwing
I
them
would
around.
be more scared of teenagers than I am of aliens.
Yeah, like don't come peeking in my house.
That's a true statement right there.
Yeah,
That
I
is
think-
a true statement.
Yeah.
I think with all this that's coming out, if people have anything to fear, it will be
Us.
people
Thank
and
you.
how it gets manipulated.
Thank you.
Yes, totally agree.
I totally agree
Well,
with you
I
too.
can't wait to see how this turns out. I really am. I had no idea. Obviously, I did listen to Rubio do that speech, but I cannot wait to see how this is going to push through and turn out.
It's gonna be
Because
wild.
I want to know. I want to know. What
Okay.
They know.
It's gonna be wild.
All right, so
Yes.
what are we gonna do next?
Oh, I have one last thing I wanted to tell you about my sighting.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So I said it was by the Avon Park
Yes.
bomb range.
I know where that is. She doesn't, but I do.
Mhm.
One of the recent
Of course you do. You're a Florida trivia girl. Go ahead.
Some of the recent disclosures have been making claims about where this organization is active. And one of those places was the Avon Park bombing range.
Mhm.
No way.
No way. Okay. That's freaky.
And you did not know that
At the time.
that
Of course not.
At
No.
that time, I didn't know
No.
that until just a few months ago.
Wow.
When I was up there.
Now that's freaky.
Yeah.
That's scary, freaky.
That's not a coincidence. That is freaky.
There are way too many coincidences.
I'm just telling you right now there are.
There are way too many
And
coincidences.
I'm just telling you right now, there are a lot of secret programs that are so far above our heads. Crazy.
Yeah, we don't want to know how the sausage is made. I've cooked for
Thank you.
know in
I don't.
plenty
I
of meetings
Don't
and
spare
dinners
me those details.
I don't want
where
to know any
you
of
don't
it.
want to know what
I don't
it's
know.
it's never what you expect.
No.
And
Mm-mm.
there are people who should be concerned with it, but most people
Again, these are details I don't want to know or
Yeah,
nor need to know.
especially when it
Just
comes
give me a
to-
we
sausage
got
on a
enough
bun.
to worry about.
Especially when it comes to food.
Give me
Yeah.
a sausage on a bun any day of the week with some mayonnaise and some ketchup on
A
there.
lot
little
of
mustard.
mayonnaise for you.
Mmm.
Heavy on the mayo.
Heavy on the mayo. All right, so we're gonna wrap this one up, but I think what
Yes.
maybe we need to do while we have Samuel on our grips, do another one, but not about aliens and just talk
Okay.
from a guy perspective. About
Okay.
things.
Oh yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
That'd be fun.
Okay.
Alright, let's freshen
All right,
up her
so-
drink.
So,
Okay.
okay, thank you guys for listening
Yes.
to our little freaky deaky alien
Alien.
topic.
And thank you.
And be on the
Samuel.
lookout. Write us or message us and let us know if you've ever had an alien encounter, and that does not
Yes.
mean a bad date. Just saying.
Exactly, because we'd like to know, and I'm sure you'd like to know, Samuel,
Yeah.
about our viewers, listeners, for
Yeah.
anybody that's had that sort of encounter.
Yeah, if anybody wants to
Reach
tell
out.
me any stories or ask me any questions, you can reach out on Instagram at Chef Sam Edwards.
Or if you'd like a good meal cooked for you, Chef Sam Edwards.
Yeah, or if you
Yeah.
need private
Or if you
cooking.
need a bartender or a party in a box, Chef
Chef
Sam Edwards. At your
Yes.
service.
Yes.
All right, but we're going to get to know Chef Sam Edwards better in just a minute. So until next week, like us,
Love us
share us.
and care.
You got it. Cheers.
I got it, yay!
Touche.
I'm out.
Cheers.
Touche.
Cheers.
Thank you.
We're back.
Quick note: I just noticed in the bathroom. You know, people say like, "Did you get dressed in the dark?" I don't know if you noticed the stains on my shirt, but I literally did get dressed in the dark.
I didn't see him.
I was
I
looking
still
through my
don't.
white t-shirts. Well, I hope it doesn't show up. I was looking through my white t-shirts and I was like, oh yeah, this one's good. No stains on this. I sprayed the wrinkle spray on it.
I love it.
I got it ready. I put it on, and then I just now looked down and there's like yellow. I'm
It's
sure
probably
from
from
cooking.
the drink.
Cooking.
No, it's from cooking.
Well,
it's from,
you're a chef, so that just
All
shows.
of my clothes are stained.
I know, of
I
course.
buy white t-shirts and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I have
I
my
did not
stained ones.
notice.
Well,
I didn't notice
At
either.
all.
that was more of a disclaimer for those friends of mine who will see this and have something to say about it. Like,
Don't
No.
pick on Samuel.
yeah,
Leave him alone.
like the entire Schlechter family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.